Flipping it up and out. Bogut! Ariza's blocked by Bogut.
Good recovery by Andrew Bogut.
Let's get rogue.
Welcome to Rogue Bogues, the basketball series. Thanks again for everyone out there who has subscribed and is listening. Got a big run sheet today, Pro. What's news over there?
Well, Bogues, I'm going to create a new segment, and I'm going to open it up with it. It's called Fire Your Trainer and Getting in the Fucking Gym Award for the week. And I've got this database that I've set up for like 12 years. It has all stats, my rankings, all NBA, all that stuff. But it also has a segment of like 50, 40, 90 guys presently. And it also has the worst shooters in the league. So here's the prerequisite. You know, and Steve the sound guy can take this out, so it doesn't matter. Whatever you guys want to do is great with me. All right, it's under 42% from the field, under 30 from the three, and under 70 from the line club. It's a prestigious club, folks. Out of 510 players or so, whatever's in the NBA, there's only two that really qualify right now, presently. And it's Justice Winslow from Portland, 38 from the field, 65 from the line, 23.8 from the three. Not exactly Larry Bird numbers. And then Kobe White, 37.5 from the field, 55.6 from the line, 28.6 from the three. Your trainers need to get fired, get off Instagram, and you got to get in the gym. So,
wait, what's Ben at?
What's up?
What's Ben Simmons at though? He'd be around those numbers, wouldn't he?
Hold on. Let me look at it.
Oh, he'd be good from the field.
Yeah,
he'd be good from the field. He'd be 50 plus from the field. He'd be 0 from the three.
Yeah, and you have to play a certain amount of games. You have to play right up to this point. You have to play 8 games, and it'll go up 2 games a week. So Ben currently is 53 from the field, 52 from the line, and 0 from the three. So. Mm-hmm. And then you have to have a couple of attempts. Like, it can't be somebody who never shoots threes. So that's my deal. Fire your trainer, get in the fucking gym. Those two guys. And they might be the same 2 guys every week, but we got to do better, Bogues. I think we have to promote better fucking play in this league. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, maybe they don't have a trainer. Maybe that's a problem. They need a guy that posts their shit on Instagram.
Mike at hoopconsultants.com. I don't post shit on Instagram.
And actually, we will get into trainers a little bit right at the end of this podcast. So stay tuned. There's been a lot of people reaching out and asking about trainers for their kids. So parents, stay tuned. Anyway, let's get rolling with our team of the weeks. I will go first. I think we've probably got the same one. Sacramento Kings. You got Sac?
I don't have Sac, but they were.
Oh my goodness! Sacrilege! This is a team that was meant to be. Yeah. Bottom 5, but anyway, they just won their 6th straight game, albeit versus Detroit. I watched the end of that one just to make sure that my team of the week was at least on a streak. I was still going to give it to them anyway, but their last 6 they've won: Cleveland, Lakers, Golden State, Brooklyn, Spurs, and Detroit. So a good mix of bad teams and pretty okay. You know, Cleveland was a good team. Mm-hmm. Golden State's going to be okay. Let's be honest. And Brooklyn's in the middle of the pack. I mean, the Detroit, San Antonio, and Lakers are pretty easy wins, but they still have to. The old Sacramento would have lost those, or would have went 1 and 2 against those really bad teams. So I think they're overachieving. There's no doubt. So the question will be, can they sustain this form? I think next week and the week after they start playing much better teams, Boston and whatnot. But the reason why they're my team of the week is because usually they out of these 6 games, they might have went 2 and 4 historically, or 3 and 3. Oh, we let one slip at home, and they haven't. They've done really well. So bonus. 17, 11, and 6 a night. Fantastic. He's playing awesome. I mean, if they keep this form up, he's an all-star along with Fox, in my opinion. Fox is 25, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. The guy that's really playing well for them is Herter. He's averaging 16 points a game. He's shooting 51% from the three. That was pre-tonight's game, so it might change a little bit. But 51% on 16 points per game, and he's shooting 7 threes a game, pro. So He's lighting it up from there. He's really aggressive. I mean, he's one of the last remaining gingers in the NBA, I believe. So he's representing the gingers and playing really well. But they look like they like each other. I mean, the Sacramento of past had too many young guys, too many guys fighting for who's the one guy on this team. No, I'm the man on this team. I'm not getting my touches. They've moved some of those guys out. Whether that was a good move or bad move, it's kind of worked. I mean, Halliburton's probably the toughest one they had to get rid of to free things up for Fox. But in my opinion, it was either Fox or Halliburton. And it just looks like they enjoy it. They got a good mix of veterans now, Sabonis and Harrison Barnes. Good mix of youth. They a stat I'll drop later on in the useful or useless, which is a pretty mind-boggling one. They're moving the ball and playing well together, and I've enjoyed seeing them do well the last 2 or 3 weeks, and especially this last week. I hope they can continue it. That's the biggest question mark with Sacramento. And I said at the start of this season, I had them in my bottom 4 because I said until they show me they deserve to be, in the top 10, the top 8, the top 7 out of a plane, whatever. They need to show me on a consistent basis. That question mark's still out, but we can only be judging them on the present, and they're having a hell of a start to the season, pro. And not only that, pro, they lost 2 games to that review bullshit, where the last minute report said, "Oh, whoops, yep, you were right. Klay Thompson did foul Herter on that 3, which would have tied the game, and there was that travel, I think, against Miami. So they arguably could be even higher, but they're doing very, very well, bro.
Bogues, they're fun to watch, man. And, like Herter, who really didn't have a great year last year after having a really good year before for Atlanta, in their big playoff run, didn't really have a good year last year shooting the ball, almost like Duncan Robinson-esque sometimes, probably for the main reason I had him on my fantasy team, and he just totally completely kicked my ass with it. But no, they're playing well. They're moving the ball. Sabonis is tough. Great screen setting, post ups, down low, rebounding the shit out of it. Herter's shooting it. Fox is really tough. But I'll tell you what, their bench is really coming alive. Like Trey Lyles, Terrence Davis, Malik Monk, Mitchell, and even the Metu kid, Chemezi, if I'm not mistaken, for the name, but he took Holmes right out of the lineup, out of those backup minutes, and he's really playing hard. Terrence Davis had a great game the night when I watched him, and but I'll let you know a little secret, Bogues. They are undefeated since I told HB I had him on my fantasy team for like 7 straight years. I've picked him up every year for 7 straight years. He's my lucky charm, to say the least. So you're welcome, fucking Sacramento.
Yeah, he was struggling early on, so it wouldn't have been too lucky. But he's found form. He had 27 today, I believe, or maybe more. I don't know if they fouled him into the game for free throws, but yeah, he's been playing better the last week or two and had a really slow start for his standards. So, but. Good on the Sacramento Kings. I was a fan of them as a young fellow back in the day when they had, Pager and Vladi and Bibby and Weber, and it's good to see them. And they light the sky up now with some sort of laser beam, pro, and they win a game. So apparently it had cobwebs on that laser beam. They had to figure out what closet it was stored in, but they've pulled it back out now. And apparently after every win, they light the sky up with a laser beam, and it's 6 straight. So congrats to the Kings. Who do you have, bro?
Folks, I had the Celtics, and look, I love Sacramento too. Like they're playing really well, and I was basically up to the podcast was going to go with Sac, and then I was like, you know what, Boston's been playing well, won 9 in a row. Didn't exactly beat the 91 Bulls last week, but again undefeated. They beat New Orleans, they beat New Orleans, Atlanta, Oklahoma City. Detroit, I believe. No, Detroit was the week before. But so 3-0 in the week. They're playing well. Those guys are a well-oiled machine. If I'm, right now, I don't know if there's many teams playing better than Boston. As far as they're playing together, they're defending, they're scoring, they're moving the ball. They don't even have Robert Williams right now. Their front court is decimated since Gallinari got hurt, since Robert Williams has been out all year. Al Horford's been, they're talking about Al Horford. Like, the guy's like, literally he knew where he was when Lincoln got shot, and the guy's fucking putting up 11 and 7. The guy's one of the older players in the league and really producing in 31 minutes a night. And he's playing well. And like Luke Cornett, even coming off the bench, a guy who's been a journeyman, basically a sparring partner for most teams. And this guy's giving them 13 minutes off the bench, playing well. So I think they're playing great, Bogues. They're a fun team to watch. Last year they were so bad to watch. It was like Tatum ISO, Brown ISO. And that's all they were doing. And, and then they made a couple of trades at trade deadline, and those guys go to the finals. And, Brogdon's playing well. White's playing well. They just, Hauser, they got Hauser off the scrap heap. Hauser, I think, was delivering for fucking Amazon before this season, and this guy's putting up 8 a game, making threes like it's nobody's business. He's like a Kevin Huerter type, Duncan Robinson type. So what do you see about the Celtics, Bogues?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're probably the one team that I would have had in there. Otherwise, I didn't give it to them last week just based on their schedule, but they're firing on all cylinders and they have injuries. Like I've always said, a good team can kind of band-aid injuries and miss a main guy or a main starting center in their case and just continue on. Like they haven't missed a beat, and they have a bunch of guys. They're that well-oiled machine now. They just night in, night out, they come together, they play hard. Everyone knows their role. They understand their role. There's no bitching and griping in the locker room, and I think they're really stung. It seems like they're really stung by losing that opportunity last season, and that's what you want to be. You look at the Phoenix Suns. They had that opportunity to come back the following year and be better, and they were worse, and it capitulated for them. Whereas Boston look like they've come out and said, you know what, like no, we're coming back. We feel like we had a chance to win that series and we squandered it, and we want to be back there and give ourselves another opportunity. And I think as it looks now, Boston and Milwaukee are coming out of the East at 1-2, and that's how it's sitting right now in the standings. Those two teams are the teams to beat, but Boston is definitely owning the East. So I think that's a very, very good pick. And I think, to be honest, they're going to be in the running to win Team of the Week most weeks on this podcast, just because they're rolling. They don't lose at home, and they're very, very good on the road. So decent pick, bro. All right, let's see who you've got week. You go first.
Team of the week. Well, you know what, Bogues? Since officially you put it on paper first, we have the same team.
We can do the same one.
We
can do the same one.
Yeah, but you know what? Since you were the first guy to put it out there, I'm going to let you say it because we got the same team.
Okay, fair enough. The Chicago Bulls, man. They lost 4 straight this week now. New Orleans twice, Denver, and Orlando. They lose to Orlando on a tough shot from who was that? Suggs hit a 3-ball, kind of fumbled it, just step back 3, bang. But they just, start of the season, I thought they'd be a little bit better. I thought where they'd be last season. They'd be where they were last season, and they're worse. They just, I don't know. It's a roster that doesn't fit, in my opinion. Levine hasn't been great. He was 1 for 14 last game against Orlando. Hasn't been shooting the ball that well. Very, very inconsistent. Vucevic, he's been playing pretty solid for him. Hit some big threes in some games that I've watched to keep them in games, but Patrick Williams has been okay, up and down. DeRozan's still getting his numbers. He had 41 against Orlando, single-handedly tried to carry him in that game. Caruso hasn't been as effective. His energy is always going to be there, but up and down as well. And then their bench, there's a major plateau with their bench. Like you mentioned earlier, Kobe White's on that bench, one of the worst shooting percentages in the league. Dragic is there, but getting very, very old. Drummond back up center. Derrick Jones Jr., that's their bench. So their bench is not great, and I don't know what they do to fix it. They're in that real NBA no man's land right now. They're scratching the surface of a play-in or being one of the worst teams in the league. It is early, but yeah, they got a lot of improving to do, and I just don't see. I don't see them fixing it. I don't see them, even with a trade, even with some moves. That roster is just not. There's not a lot of depth there. They've got some great players on it, and it just seems like it has soured its peak, in my opinion, which was last season, and that wasn't a great year by any means. They were solid, but yeah, I just don't think they're gonna make much more noise this season, pro.
Folks, it's tough, man. Like without, when you're going into a year without Ball for the whole year, and look, Ball's not, Magic Johnson or anything, but like he is really good at, getting everybody shots, getting people looks. He's got great vision, and now to have to take him out of the mix, you're playing Dragic 19 minutes, probably more than you want to play him. A few more minutes a game. Caruso's got to play an increased role. Kobe White had, like mentioned him earlier in the show, not being able to make shots right now. And then they just have to go deeper into your bench, and it's not good. Patrick Williams again putting up not exactly. It's pretty. It's not really hitting the bar right now. Like if anybody needed a breakout season, it's Patrick Williams, and 10-3 is not going to pull it, especially with the injuries they've had. DeRozan's doing his thing at 25-4, and Levine's going at 20-4. But Levine's shooting at 41% from the field, not very efficient. 3 balls okay at 36, but like he's got to step up and play better. Like he's had a few dismal nights already. That's pretty rough. DeRozan's not really a 3-point shooter. We know that coming in. He's shooting 52% from the field, but 21 from the 3. I don't think there's going to be a trade. Look, they made that trade, with all those package of players and picks and things like that to Orlando to get Vucevic. They made a deal to be like, look, this is our team. Signing Levine, signing Ball. They already had DeRozan and they got Vucevic. That's their team. So they built the team for now. They're not building for the future. They're building it for now, for the next 3 or 4 years to see what they can do with it. And they're just sort of underperforming right now. And, they got to be better. But right now it's 6-10. They're 4th in the Central. They're 4th in the Central, 12th in the East. And I don't know as far as how hard their schedule's been up to this point. I'm not really a big schedule studier like that, but it doesn't look great right now for them. They got to bounce back. They got to get Ball back on the court. Dragic is a great backup to play 10, 15 minutes a night. But not to have Ball there and have everybody else step up off the bench, which you would expect them to do, but they just really haven't been there. They've been pretty just like lethargic most of the year and up and down. So somebody's got to step up, and I don't really see it. There's not really a trade to be made. I don't think there's a big calling of Vucevic, DeRozan. Like, you can get some things for him, but like, it's probably not better than what you have. And no one's giving you a boatload of picks for probably either one of those players. So it's like, what are you going to, you just sort of have what you have, and they got to go forward with it, but it doesn't look great.
They are the team of the motherfucking week. For everyone out there that gets confused, that is the bad team, but they are struggling. So if you're a Bulls fan, unlucky. And real quick before we move on to the next segment, Klay Thompson's found his form, pro. He has 41 right now with 26 seconds left against the Rockets. Looks like the Golden State Warriors are going to win that 126-120 currently.
You mean Houston Elite? No, they're not the Rockets.
The Houston
Elite,
AAU
Houston
team.
Elite AAU, yes.
Steph with a line of 33, 15, and 8, but Klay has found form, ladies and gentlemen. This is good old Houston Rockets come to town. What are they playing there? Doesn't matter. Whatever it is, Klay Thompson's found form. 10 for 13 from 3. So I knew he was going to find it eventually. All these people naysaying him, yes, he's not moving as well as he was. He's coming off some injuries. Hasn't played a whole season of basketball in a while. It's his first season fully healthy and back. He's going to find it, and he's found it tonight. And I think he'll carry on this form now. And now that he's got his eye in, I think that the Warriors will start to surge a little bit. All right, moving on to Laddergate Pro. Giannis, for those who haven't seen this, just jump online. Giannis and the ladder at Philadelphia. So the story goes something like this. Giannis, Milwaukee played at Philadelphia. Giannis was 4 for 15 from the line. A couple of air balls in there, didn't shoot it well. They go down by, whatever it was at the end of it. It was a single-digit game, but they lose that game. And so Giannis, like a lot of players, they go and get shots up after the game. Now, usually it's, as Pro can attest, it's usually guys that don't get minutes, guys that haven't played much, or development guys that are just in a suit. They'll sometimes get another workout in after a game, or guys that have felt like they've shot the ball bad or whatever. So Giannis, being the pro that he is, decided to go out back onto Philly's court as the fans were already exited pretty much, or just the cleaners left and whatever. And he started shooting some free throws just to get another 50 or 100 up before he gets on the plane, wherever they're going in the next city. And Montrezl Harrell decides that, he's out there as well to get a workout in because he's benched. He's not playing at all for Philly. So he's probably pissed about that a little bit. But he goes like a petty little child, walks up to Giannis and takes the ball off him as he's shooting. So just takes his ball and just goes, get off our court. This is our court. You can't do this, blah, 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 blah. So Giannis is like, I just want to get some free throws up, man. Like, I'm happy to, reportedly he said, we can shoot on the same rim. I'm not doing any jumpers or movement stuff. So I'll just shoot some free throws while you, and Harrell wasn't having it, blah, 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 blah. Some back and forth, some barking. So much so that Giannis goes to the locker room, gets 2 balls of his own, comes back out and then goes to the other end. And apparently Harrell and Philly had told the arena workers to put one of those big ladders in front of the hoop. So Giannis came out and I guess he said something along the lines of, look, I just want to get 50 quick shots up or 100 quick shots up. Can you move the ladder, please? And they were like, no. So he kind of brushed it aside a little bit, went to the free throw line, shot a shot, and then they moved it straight back in front. And this is where Laddergate started. He basically walked up pissed and was like, I'm going to shoot. Move the ladder. And they're like, no, we're not moving it. So you just grab the whole thing. It's one of those tall ladders for people out there. It's 10 odd feet high. So it's used to change the net. It's used to clean something on the backboard, put microphones up. He knocks that whole thing over, makes a big, massive sound, just walks back to the line and starts shooting free throws. And that's Laddergate. I don't know, Pro. You have a bit more experience with this than me. Visiting teams usually allow guys on the court, on the road, to get extra shots up after games?
After the game, it's sort of a free-for-all, Bogues, to be honest with you. Kobe started this back in 2011. I don't know if you remember, after Miami, he just didn't play well. They lost, and he came out and shot like close to midnight, started shooting. And it was a big thing online back then. And now guys have been, slowly but surely doing it once in a while during the season. It's not really a big thing on the arena floor. Like I really haven't had much experience with a visiting team players doing it. Sometimes a home team player will do it. I remember Luka did it his rookie year. Not many guys did it. Sometimes they would go in their practice facility downstairs in Dallas, but you're sort of at the mercy of the arena workers, because a lot of times those arenas, they have hockey on the next night, or some other event they got to get ready for, so they got to break things down and things. I read that story a few times, like from a few different places from the media. I didn't hear about Montrez talking to an arena worker. Not that it didn't happen, I just didn't hear that part of the story. I did hear that Giannis makes 10 in a row. Usually that's his deal. And then he goes, he was like on number 8, and Montrez took the ball and said, come on, man. Like, and said exactly what you said about, I'll share the court with you, blah, blah, blah. And, he went in the locker room, got 2 balls, and then like the arena workers are there. And, he asked to move. They wouldn't move it. Then he tried to move it. They moved it back. And then obviously the thing went down. Those arena workers could be it could be tough, man. Like before the game, it's usually fucking piss. They usually, as a development coach, it's there early. They're usually doing that, and they usually fuck with a visiting team first. So they're not like, they'll just take their time, and you're just like, what the fuck? I'm trying to get my schedule right. And these motherfuckers are just taking their time, taking selfies with the shot clock and shit. And you're like, come on, man, just get off the fucking court. But it is a little bit nerve wracking. To me, like, Montrez doing that just shows who he is. He's been like that his whole career. He's been a guy that's just not professional, just, pisses people off, blah, blah, blah. Not like a Rodman piss you off, or a Ron Artest. Just sort of like, just not a good dude. Like, that's a guy who just wants to piss you off all the time. And he wears out his welcome. He's done it in a few places. And yeah, like, look, and that's the thing. Giannis has built this equity up for his whole career being a good dude. So it's like, you don't want to believe that the guy could be a dick, and like he's never shown anything. Not that he can't be without anybody looking, but like it just seemed like he got a little frustrated. Now that being said, he's not entitled to use that court if they feel as though, look, those workers got to do what they got to do. Now, if you're right in your intel where Montrez and told those guys to do it, then obviously that's a different story. I have no idea, but if it's just they had a... Well, it's,
I doubt he walked up to him and formally said, hey, put that ladder in the way, but I think it's Philly. Number one, it's Philly. It's Philadelphia. We have to remember Philly fans they do that to their own home team player at times, right? So I think it went without saying that the arena workers saw what was going on, because when this happened, the people that were left in the arena were like, oh shit, Harrell's going at Giannis on the video.
Right.
It went kind of quiet. All eyes were on what the hell's going to happen. Right. They all probably know Harrell's kind of, a little bit loose and might get into a little scuffle. So I think, I don't think it was said directly, but I think it was said indirectly, and I think the arena people participated in it. And I don't know the rules about post game. My whole thing is though that, Montrez, you're going to be a road team eventually, and you're going to want to shoot after a game one day. This is what always got me with the NBA. Back in the Van Gundy days, when he was in Houston, I remember when I was with the Bucks, we went out to Houston to play a game, and nowadays everyone shares their weight rooms. Back in the day, it wasn't really a thing. Yeah. So Houston had 2 weight rooms. They had their weight room, which is all state of the art gear, and they had this little like it was the size of like a bathroom weight room, right, with just a few dumbbells and like an elliptical or some shit in it, right? So a few of our guys went in the main weight room, which they'd done previously, I guess, and Van Gundy found out about it pre-game and kicked all our guys out. So we were like, well, we need a weight room. They're like, oh yeah, there's one down here, and it was a joke. It wasn't a weight room. It was literally they were trolling us almost, or trolling the visiting teams by saying that was a weight room. Regardless, so okay, Houston came to Milwaukee like 2 months later.
Right.
So strength coaches are usually really good at trolling. They love shit talking back and forth. Okay, cool. So they did the same thing. They got like a little dumbbell rack and put it in like a little side room, janitor closet. Like that's your weight room for today. And Houston got the message. Van Gundy got the message. 41 away, 41 home. You want to screw a team, they're going to screw you back. And this is my point about the Harold thing. It's like, okay, like you're going to have to go to Milwaukee eventually and you might want to get shots up. You might want to go to their facility. They're not going to be accommodating now. So now it's just very, very narrow-minded. And this was also an issue in the NBL when I first got here. There was a lot of teams that would mess with teams for shoot-around times. Like there were some teams that would be, oh yeah, the game's at 7. You can have your shoot-around time will give you between 2 and 4 p.m. And we're like, we can't drive to the arena at 2, shoot around and then drive back to the hotel for the meal and that and rest. It's pointless. Like the time doesn't, oh, sorry, that's the only time we have. Whereas when I first got to the Kings, we had, some people higher up that were very accommodating to any team no matter what. They were scared to say no. And I put a stop to that because I was like, look, if they screw us, we're screwing them back. That's just how it goes. And that's what I think with this Harold thing, it'll end up being that I guarantee you Harold's going to need something in Milwaukee one day and he's not going to get it.
I got a great fucking story that it's also the Houston Rockets. So one year, I don't know. It's
with Van Gundy?
Not Van Gundy, though. Not Van Gundy.
Mikhail?
No, yeah, but I forgot who the coach was at the time. But I totally forgot who the coach was at the time.
Adelman, maybe?
Probably, yeah. It was after Mikhail, I believe. And so we come to Houston. And look, you know our deal in Dallas. I started up the intern program. We have 12. We take 8 or 9. A couple went downstairs to rebound for dirt. And so we would have like 6 to 8. And then we would give always 2 to 4 people would always go down to the visitors because I know how it's like. Like, you get there at 5. You don't want to be chasing fucking balls. So, we had plenty of interns, and I made sure that they had plenty of rebounders. So I go to Houston, and we come out a few hours early. I don't know if we're coming off a back-to-back, whatever, but, like, we come out, and there's no rebounders down there. And there's, like, 4 down there rebounding for Houston. I'm like, come on, man. They know. Like, we take care of them when they come to us. So then, like, we're rebounding. You know me, I fucking hate rebounding. And I'm like, I look down there, and now the assistant coach is shooting shots, getting shots up, and 4 guys are rebounding for him. And I'm fucking hot right now because I'm like, that motherfucker, right? I said, that is not fucking cool. That's one of the most disrespectful things I've ever fucking seen. Assistant coaches fucking shooting around before a game. So I'm like, all right, motherfucker, we'll see. So we get to Houston because they got to come right back and play us that week. And I come to Houston. The first thing I do the next fucking morning at like 8 a.m., my interns are in. I said, look, Houston's coming to town. If one of you motherfuckers grab a rebound for them, here's what you're doing. You're standing in half court and you're staring at them. You're not going to take one fucking ball. I will study fucking film. If I see one of you motherfuckers get a rebound for them, you're fired on the fucking spot. Now, of course, I was joking. But, dude, so they do it. They're staring at him, right? Trevor Ariza gets fucking pissed. And he starts booting balls into the fucking like top row in fucking the American Airlines Center. And like one of their assistant coaches, a good friend of mine, goes, Mike, what the fuck is that? I said, dude, look, one of your assistants were shooting around while we were fucking staring at him back. We needed rebounders. You had 4 guys fucking rebounding for an assistant fucking coach. That's bullshit. And I told my guys, I said, you fucking get 1 rebound for those motherfuckers. You'll be working nowhere. I'll make sure of that shit. I take care of everybody. But you do that shit to me, and it's funny. It just goes to show you, like, all right, you'll fuck us one time, but we're gonna make sure you get it back. And that's just how it is in the NBA. But yeah, that was funny that you have a Houston Rockets story and I do. But Yeah, it's one of those things. But that was when Salah Salah got in the fight that night. That was
I was on the squad.
Right.
Yeah. We've discussed this. That's when Trevor Ariza got his chair and put it outside our locker room, and he was waiting for Salah, and I had to kind of talk him off the ledge and be like, "Dude, like, what are you doing, man?"
That's beautiful.
Salah, what did I do, man? I did nothing. I don't know what he's saying. I'm like, well, you told him to F his mum. Like, no, I did not. And I'm like, well, he's pretty mad, man. So that's what he thinks you said. You better go fix it.
Translation.
Yeah, 100% lost in in my country. We can see this. It's just like, doesn't work so well in America. Anyway, moving on. Don't want to get into this one too much, but the Spurs, note that again, Pro. The Spurs and Josh Primo have settled with team psychologist Hillary Cawthon. So the Spurs were kind of, left out of this for the most part, but the fact that they've settled, and we all know this is, team. Popovich loves to be involved with all activist causes. There's rumors that this was known about by the Spurs for a number of months before it happened to get to the media. And they were kind of didn't know what to do, this, that. And the minute they got a sniff that the media had got a leak of it and that Hillary had gone to the media, they then let go of Primo. So they're not on that high pedestal as most people think. But the Spurs have paid out and Primo apparently have settled with Hillary Cawthon, so we can shut that book once again. Once bitten, twice shy, but 9 times, Josh Primo. It's hard for anyone to defend you with that. And hopefully Hillary gets some compensation that she deserves and she can move on from it and isn't too banged up mentally from it. So that's all done and dusted. You anything on that, Pro?
No, I got nothing to add to it. It's just it's a black eye on it's a black eye on the league. It's a black eye on that organization. And obviously, Primo, I got no respect for, so I don't give a fuck how much training he's got or whatever. It's, that's not good. That's no bueno. And now that they paid out, obviously they there was definitely some guilt there, and they decided to settle, and it's just not going to be good. And like you said, they're supposed to be the pillar of excellence of the league, of how they treat people and how they do things, and that's just not. And then just to settle early, it's not a good look.
The squeaky clean Spurs can even get done. So they're not perfect by any means. I just hope there's no more lecturing from.
They'll be lecturing
from Pop about some. Yeah, well, I'll just bring this up. I'll be like, remember Josh Primo? Remember that whole thing that you hid for a couple of months, and then the media caught hold of it, and you decided to cut him on the spot within a day or two? Yeah, I remember. So spare me. But yes, you're right. This won't be the last or first time we hear about some other type of cause that is bothering Pop. All right, NBA officials, Pro. Did you see this?
I did not.
The NBA is being sued by 3 officials. 2 of these guys I know very well. The Jason Phillips and Kenny Mauer. Kenny Mauer is an NBA legend of an official. Third one is Mark Ayoade. They're suing because they were fired for not taking the vaccination. They have cited, at the time, religious objections. That's neither here or there for me. Where I stand on this. I think it should have been freedom of choice. I don't think people should have lost their job for not abiding, but they go on to court with it. So this is going to be an interesting precedent on what happens. And a guy like Kenny Mauer, he's not going to, he won't get reinstated no matter what. The other 2 haven't been, and they haven't been reinstated is the other issue. But Kenny Mauer was kind of towards the end of his tenure as an NBA official anyway. It'd be interesting to see. He surely would have hit his pension, but interesting to see how that's going to go and what compensation, if any, those officials do receive, because we are seeing I've seen read online, there's other forms of employment, other workers that have done the same thing and actually won settlement cases for being wrongfully dismissed. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know much about it, Bogues, until Mauer. I noticed that I wasn't seeing him ref the last year or so. And then I saw him on a couple of talk shows talking about, the situation about the vax stuff. I had no idea. And he's a good ref, man. He's, like you said, he's legendary. I don't know the other guy very well, but I don't know many of them well, but I do know that guy because he sort of looked like Pat Riley with that slick back hair and stuff.
Slick back.
Yeah. And, good ref, been around for a long time, respect him. And I had no idea. So, yeah, it's always a slippery slope with that stuff, folks. But what are you going to do?
It is. We'll see. We'll see how much cash they get, if any. It'll be interesting just to watch, but I know there's definitely they definitely have a case to argue for, especially knowing what we know now. All right, some trade talks are heating up. Matisse Thybulle's on the block, bro, which is kind of expected. I'd assume he or him or his agent put the trade request in. I think Philly were kind of like, yep, we get it. You're not playing much and you're getting screwed out in minutes. You probably should be playing more. I think his confidence now looks like it's at an all-time low, at least at the offensive end. They're expecting him to be gone by the deadline. Utah Jazz are interested in John Collins. He's on the table, apparently, by the Atlanta Hawks. This is interesting because they just signed him on extension not long ago. And it's interesting that the Jazz are going after him. He could really, really, really put them in an even better position. Marketing him at the 4-5, a lot of shooting there, a lot of athleticism. Man, the Jazz are balling out of this world as well. So that's an interesting one. And the other one that's popped up now, there'll be more that pop up in the future. Bridges, post-domestic violence hearing and whatnot. The Lakers, of course. The Lakers and the Pistons are the two teams that seem to be interested. So it'll be interesting to see what Charlotte does, whether they just take a low ball to get Bridges out at all costs. Maybe they even keep him. Who knows? But I think they're going nowhere fast, so they'll probably look to move him on for some. I could definitely see Bridges for maybe a couple of picks, something like that. Something nice and easy that gives both those teams some younger talent in the future. I don't think it's going to be a big blockbuster deal, but they're the three that are kind of hitting the wire at the moment, bro. What do you think?
Yeah, the Thibault thing is interesting because I thought he was going to be their guy, sort of their backup, that probably is going to take PJ Tucker's job at some point, like when they move on from PJ and be that starting wing that could be, a shutdown guy, someone who could improve their 3-point shooting and improve his 3-point shooting at times. Shooting 17% from the three is not good. But look, man, it's not looking great for him right now. And, I understand why there's some trade rumors for him. He is a talented kid. Seems like he does things the right way and tries to really, be professional as action. But shooting 28 from the field, 33 from the line, 17 from the three is not a great stat line for him. No one expects him to shoot 40 from the three, but 33 from the free throw line and, under 30 from the field is no good. He's got yes, he might be getting the short end of the stick on some of this stuff, but he really needs to look, you need to prepare in the sense that you have to produce in the minutes that you get. And that's just the livelihood of any NBA player. And I think people are going to really like to develop him. And if I'm a team, I'm definitely want him on my team because I think he could develop into a starting small forward, somebody who could really guard people, and increase your athletic ability. This defense and athletic ability, play in transition, could be a great cutter, and then improve that corner three ball. And yeah, it's unfortunate with the Collins thing. I'm not a huge Collins guy. I think he's got some talent, but I thought that, when they were talking about the extension stuff for him last year, or, a couple years back, whatever. And I was like, I just didn't see it. Look, he's a good player. He's an athlete. He's a lob threat. He's good in transition. He runs, he could finish, but not a hell of a lot of skill there. Currently shooting 49 from the field, 23 from the three, 92 from the line. But like you said, he could, with Utah, with him and Marketing, and, he could definitely help them get a little bit better. The problem is that contract's rough. It's not terrible. I mean, it's probably average, for a starting power forward in the league, but it's still, it's still a little rough as far as, taking on a deal like that. 23-5 this year, 25-3 next, 26-5-8, and then 26-5-8 and 25-26. So it is a decent sized commitment that you're gonna have to take on. So it'll be an interesting deal. And then the Bridges thing,
he's only averaging 12 and 8. Yeah. With that contract.
He's a good fourth option. To me, he's a good fourth option for you. Maybe borderline third option, but he's a good player. If you got two really good players, he can play off of those guys. He's not a guy that you could play through, in my opinion. He's not that type of guy, but he's a good player.
23% from the three this season.
Yeah, 23.4. Yeah.
That's career is just under 37, so he's in a bit of a rut, and I think Atlanta want to jump ship, so that's interesting. Bridges, what do you got?
Bogues, with that stuff, I'm all out. I would literally sign. I'll sign a homeless person before I sign somebody who does that to their spouse. No offense to him, that's his deal.
Is he a free agent or is he still contracted?
I
isn't
think
he?
he's qualifying offer. I think he's a free agent.
So they have his rights.
They have his rights.
They have
But
his
like,
rights.
dude, look, I'm a family man, and I understand people make mistakes, but it doesn't surprise me that a couple of teams, especially the Lakers, are they're desperate, so they're going to try to acquire any talent they can. So to me, that's going to be that's a rough spot for me. But hey, look, I never
non-starter.
Yeah, it's a non-starter for me. Maybe not for someone else, and God bless you if you want to do that, but just not for me. But somebody's going to pick him up. I think. I have very little doubts that he'll be on an NBA. He'll be on an NBA team soon. I don't know how soon, but he will be on an NBA team.
Yeah. As we speak as well, I just checked the Brooklyn Nets game. They just beat Memphis, obviously without Ja Morant, and guess what lineup they went with, Pro? I think I got one right finally.
I was going to tell you this. I was going to tell you this.
Man,
how about that?
Man.
Yeah.
Spoke about this in the preseason I thought a starting lineup with Ben Simmons at the 5 spot would look good, and it would actually alleviate a lot of the pressure that Ben has from being on the perimeter, and he'd have a huge mismatch playing, having a 5 guard guarding him with all the handoff and fast break stuff that he runs. So they ended up starting the exact lineup I thought they probably should at a time, which is Kyrie, Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant at the 4, and Ben Simmons at the 5. And Ben Simmons has 22, 8, and 5 in probably his best game of the season. So I wonder if they'll stick with that. I like it. I think it, I think it just causes so many mismatches, and KD can almost guard 5s at the time. These days, anyone can guard a 5 because you can absolutely beat the shit out of 5 men now. I've noticed this in games. Like if a 5-man's posting up a 3 or a 2, you can they can basically do what they want. They can knee him in the ass, they can push him, they can dub, and it's not getting called. It's the referees don't. It's like they've been told we don't want post ups, so don't reward. If the little guys are getting up and into them, bad luck. We want the pick and roll and the free flowing game, but not saying that they've been told that, but it sure looks like they have. But Ben Simmons at the 5, maybe that'll be a long-term fix for him and just start out the game with a mismatch, because most teams will generally start your Claxton at the 5 and then put Ben in the first couple of minutes. But maybe they found something here. It is a Memphis without Ja Morant, but a win's a win.
Yeah, it is. And look, they're in a position where they can't say no to anything. If I'm them and I got to find a way to win, and I could have to go gimmicky a little bit and put Simmons to 5, why not? Definitely why not? And yeah, I'm definitely, hey, look, Bogues Adamas, we called you, so hey, great call. I remember listening.
Some wrong, some right.
I don't know where I heard it. I think I was listening to NBA radio. I took my kids out to grab something at Starbucks, and I heard it on the way in. I forgot to tell you. And then also, on another note, Bogues, my fire your trainer getting the fucking gym deal, you got to play 15 minutes a night. That's why you got to play at least 15 minutes a night. That's why Thibault is not on there. Although I can get Thibault to 30%. No doubt about it. So if he wants to call me and fire his trainer, please do so. Get in touch with Bogues. I'm sure you got a pipeline, all those guys. I'd be definitely interested. I got nothing else to do except fucking, go to Whataburger around here. So, might as well get my fat ass out of my office.
Yeah, give him a call, Matisse. I hope he finds a place that he could help.
Player,
he could help a team.
He is a good player.
He could definitely help a team, and I think you can tell his confidence is a little bit whack now because he's in, misses a shot, gets dragged, but defensively he's going to give you everything. And his 3-ball was coming along last season. It wasn't fantastic, but at least he was shooting it confidently. It looks like he's taking a backward step with that. All right, injuries are plenty. I don't have to discuss these, but man, there's a lot of injuries. Therese Maxey, 3 to 4 weeks with a foot fracture. Lillard is out 1 to 2 weeks with a calf. Ja Morant week to week with an ankle sprain. Jimmy Butler's out the rest of the Heat road trip. I'm not sure what he did. I think it was a knee. Cade Cunningham potentially needs surgery, so they're assessing that. Kevin Love's broken his right thumb or fractured his right thumb. Duncan Robinson injures his hand in his jersey, Pro, cut his hand open. I'm not sure how that happened. First time I ever heard you get cut by a jersey. And then Mike Conley's done, I think it's his lower leg.
2 weeks.
Popliteus is the word for it. And he's 2 weeks. A lot of injuries right now, but this is usually what happens come December. There's some injuries, and then guys are starting to get worn down a little bit. So we'll see how all those teams fare. Off to Australia real quick and FIBA overseas stuff. Did you see Spain is now the number 1 ranked team in the world, Pro?
I did see that.
How does that happen? That's a joke. I'm defending the US here. So Spain's playing in because they're playing in the Euro Championships, and they're playing a bunch of these qualifiers, and the US obviously doesn't have to qualify for any of these tournaments because they're auto-qualified because they won the last one. It's not right. I think the US is still number one, and they're the team to beat. It should be whoever won the last Olympics or the last World Championships, they're number one. I know the European Championships factor in, and I know FIBA's really trying to promote their qualifiers and the Asia Games and trying to really make it like FIFA soccer, but the US aren't sending their best players to these tournaments, and it's not right in my opinion. I think they're still number one, but anyway, FIBA has it as Spain they're number one by a couple of percentage points, USA 2, Australia 3. So good to see Australia in there. But what are your thoughts? Do you think US should be one, or do you think it's fair game?
Bogues, you know what? They got more fucking windows in the Empire State Building now with this fucking FIBA shit, Bogues. It's just ridiculous,
crazy.
Man. It's just too much. Like, that's what we're doing in sports now. It's just too fucking much. No offense.
Oversaturated.
Yeah, no offense. Look, like when I'm a big fan of basketball. I paid attention to Euro stuff. I love it. You know me. I've said it 1,000 times in the show. Like, Euro Championships, heard of it. World Championships, heard of it. But qualifiers for the Olympics, I got it. But it's just every other day there's a qualifier. And then having 3 or 4 during the season or during the fall, winter season, it just does. To me, it makes very little sense.
Kills our league. It kills our league.
Yeah.
We have to pause the league for 2 weeks. And not only that, it's like, look, no offense. I spoke about it last week. No offense to Kazakhstan, but I mean, what are we playing that game for? Like, we go to Kazakhstan, our guys are flying all hours of the night. Get there, play a game, come back, and then have to be performing for the NBL team. They win by 40, 45. All you're risking is injury there. Like, we're not gonna, and no disrespect to the guys on that Boomers roster, but probably not many of them will make the squad for the Olympics of the Worlds. It's probably our second, third, fourth best group, right? So I agree. They've overdone it. I know they're trying to make it like FIFA and make it a big prestigious thing where you have to qualify, but you want, with the way leagues run these days, no rest for the wicked, and teams are, you're not sending your best team. You're not sending, and then is that game really, if a fan goes and watches that game thinking it's going to be, it's Team USA's playing this, and you get there and it's guys that aren't even in the NBA playing for it, you're pretty disappointed, and some fans sometimes get lured into that and trapped into that not knowing it, and it's happened before. So, not a fan of it, but that's just how it goes. I think it's ridiculous. NBL real quick, pro. New Zealand go 2-0 this weekend. They beat Tasmania and Cairns, both big scalps. New Zealand, everyone's talking about Sydney as being one of the championship favourites. New Zealand are right up there. They're playing very, very good basketball. They're really, really good defensively. They got guys that are physical. They're tough. They got some scorers, so really good balance. Adelaide go 1-1. They beat Melbourne United earlier in the week and then lost to New Zealand. Melbourne had a winless weekend this week. They lost to Adelaide and Southeast Melbourne. The Kings beat Illawarra. I'll get into that in a second. Cairns beat Brisbane to go 1-1 after losing to New Zealand as well. But Sydney Kings, they played the Illawarra Hawks, pro. It was Xavier Cooks is out hurt. I knew this was going to be a trap game for us because Illawarra were 1-8 going into this game. They're dead last. They're not looking like they're going to be very, very good this season, and very close to shutting up shop, I think, and probably not bringing in more imports and paying more money. And we kind of had control of the game scoreboard-wise, but I felt like it was a game we deserved to lose. We just kind of were lulling ourselves to sleep thinking, it's the team on the bottom of the ladder, we're going to win this one easily. And they came back in the fourth and took the lead. We grinded it back, and we hit a buzzer beater again from a baseline out of bounds with 2 seconds left. A little bit of a different play than the last one. Sean Bruce flares to the opposite corner again and gets a pass on the money and knocks down a 3 on the buzzer, walk off. Now, a bit of controversy, pro, because it went to the review center. You couldn't really see if his left foot was on the line or not. It looks like in some vision it possibly was, but it was kind of lifted up. You couldn't really see it completely. There's been a few photos that people have released that's kind of more towards confirming, look, it might have been a toe on the line. It would have been a 2 then. It would have gone to overtime, but the league has said they're standing by the decision and moving on. And that's a tough thing with technology sometimes. After the fact, you can kind of see it a little bit better, but in the moment, they couldn't really see it, even with their replay center. And the Kings, I'm not complaining, but like I said, I thought the Sydney Kings deserved to lose that game in Illawarra with the way they played throughout that night. But yeah, another buzzer beater win.
Sean Bruce, you said, made it, and that's the controversial guy?
He's a controversial guy. Yeah, he got voted the
he's a follower of mine,
number
and
one
I
shit
DM him,
talker.
so I'm totally sided with him. I mean, he's obviously right.
Yeah.
I mean, he takes the time to DM me once in a while.
He's a tough motherfucker.
Yeah, I love that fucking guy. And, I haven't talked to him.
He was almost out of the league, bro.
Yeah.
Almost out of the league.
You talk to me,
a couple of years ago.
I keep guys in the league, okay? not in the NBA, but every other league, for sure.
No, but he was literally hanging by a thread. I played with his brother at the AIS, Aaron Bruce, for a number of years, and Sean was the younger brother, so I knew him but didn't really know him that well. And then he was when I got to the Kings the second season, he was a free agent. We brought him in just because he's a tough backup point guard, and he's a winner. He shows up when the game's on the line, and he's tough. And like I said, the number one shit talker voted by players in the NPL loves to get amongst it. Not afraid to take a backward step. So. Good on him. He deserves it. Great shot. And the rest is in the books. All right, Dabble. Dabble is betting meets social media. As you know, Pro gave Dabble a big shout out. He got a little bonus of an extra cupcake last week. On Dabble, you can follow your friends and mates, stalk the experts or trending tipsters, scroll through trending bets, copy them all in one tap, get alerts when your mates and expert tipsters place bets. I'm on there. Andrew Bogut, all one word. It's a fun app. You can talk shit. You can have banter. You can, make fun of people's bets or tell them how good their bets were. Jump on, download at the App Store. Dabble socially, gamble responsibly. Pro, useful, useless stats.
Let's do it.
Now, there's two reasons why this stat was important. One is because I want to hear you pronounce this guy's name one more time for the podcast listeners, and two is because it's a good stat. OG Anobi, Pro. How do we say that name?
I was going to say Ananobi, but I saw you say it's Anobi?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's kind of you say it really quickly. I could be wrong. I'm not great with names, but I'm pretty sure. I fucking
butchered it.
I think it's OG Anobi.
Hold on, let me go to.
Yeah, I think it's OG Anobi.
Keep talking. Let me go to his.
You can look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's a silent un.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, he currently, Pro, is leading the Raptors in points, steals, free throws, and 25-point games, and his steals are good for first in the NBA, Pro. Useful, useless.
Definitely useful, and it's a Nanabi. BasketballReference.com has the pronunciation of every name in the league, Nanabi. But yeah, I think it's useful. I think he's played great. I think he's a guy that doesn't get enough love from media, from basketball people. He guards people like obviously, Siakam, Barnes. Those are the guys that are mentioned when you talk about Toronto, but like Ananobi is, he can guard people. He's their best defender. He goes hard every night. Shooting's okay, decent shooter, but like brings it every night. Like I said, 19-6 and leading the league in steals. No, I think he's good. What do you think about him, Bogues?
Yeah, just silently being one of their best players. I mean, we knew he was a very, very good defender coming out, but his offense has been a surprise. I think he's much better than anticipated offensively. So they have a lot of these kind of guys, his size, his frame. They can defend multiple positions. They can score. They're slashy. They're streaky. And I think he's a big reason why Toronto's having another solid year. But I definitely didn't have him as their leader in points, Pro. I mean, they've got a few other players, Van Vliet specifically, and a few other guys on that. Siakam, who I thought would be leading them in points, but
not a huge Siakam.
Hell of a job, and
not a huge Siakam.
You're not.
He's
you're
a
not.
good player.
But I mean, he's
a good player. Don't get me wrong.
He killed us in those finals. Yeah. Jeez, he had the finals of his life against us. I'll tell you that. The guy couldn't miss.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. He's a good player. But when people start saying he's like elite play, not elite player, but like top 10, top 15 in the league, and then you watch him play, like, look, he gets a lot done. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot done. Long, athletic, does some things. I just don't. I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. I like Ananobi. I like Ananobi and Scotty Barnes better. But they got a good team. They got an underrated team. Since losing Kawhi, like people sort of dismiss them, and for a good reason. I mean, obviously they lost a lot with that, but they scrap every night. Nick Nurse, I always bust his balls about the NN hat he's got, but like
he's got a new one, Pro. He's got a black one now. It's in black writing. Nice. I saw it the other day. You couldn't really see the NN as well, though, so bad investment.
I'm surprised.
It's an all black hat with that.
He's not one that has a small ego by any stretch of the imagination. I would think that he would go fluorescent green. So I thought he would do that, but black on black, good for him.
Bad design. But yeah, it's good for. I'm investigating this Anobi thing because I swear I've heard commentators call him Anobi and that it was a kind of a silent second un. But you're right. I have to look it up for confirmation. 3 or 4 sites have said it's an Anobi. I swear, commentators got me. It's probably the Landale thing, which is your fault, by the way.
It's a Lawndale for life, brother. Lawndale for life.
Lawndale for life. All right, best pull-up shooters this season, point per game wise, pro. Who would you have on your list? Just guessing.
Best pull-up guy, probably
most points per game from pull-ups.
I would go like
jump shots.
Steph and Luka would be probably like close to 1 and 2, maybe Devin Booker, but that's what I would have like top 3.
All three of those are in the top 7.
Sweet.
Yeah, so you got Steph at 12.7. You got KD at 12.6. You forgot about KD. He loves a pull-up. Donovan Mitchell's at 12.5. Kyrie at 11.5, tied with Luka at 11.5. Devin at 10.4, and Trae Young at 10 even. So pretty interesting. Useful, useless.
Pretty useful because those guys are really good mid-range players. Like they all love the mid-range. They all do pull up. I think it's a useful stat. I mean, I
think it includes threes as well. It includes threes as well.
Okay,
So pull
my
up from
fault.
3. I believe it does. It does.
Yeah, I mean, but look, all those guys dominate the ball. Maybe I would expect Harden to be up there. I'm surprised, but yeah. Look, they're all pull-up shooters, and those guys have the ball in their hands a dominating amount of time, on their club. So, yeah, I give it to him. Except Trae ain't hitting shit this year. He leads the league in 3 for 19 fucking nights already. And that was the guy I picked by accident when I wanted to pick LeBron and I picked
That's
him.
right. Yeah.
No, I think it's pretty useful.
The logo threes.
Yeah, logo threes, a bastard.
Yeah, I think it's useful. I think it's an important shot these days. A lot of teams are drilled to run guys off the 3-point line. A lot of teams are drilled to get up and in guys as they cross half court, like a Steph or a Trae or a KD. So the next best thing for that offense is to do is to get half by them till they recover and then just pull up. So I think it's useful. All right, this one's interesting. Mike Conley, pro. He's been in the league for 15 seasons, 973 games. How many technical fouls do you think he's had?
Oh, there was something like he just got like his first one about a year or 2 ago. I'm going to say 1.
Well, you're right. He did get 1. That was rescinded. He's on 0 for his career. It was actually a flagrant. It was a flagrant they gave him, a flagrant T, and it was that controversial one. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it clearly wasn't a flagrant. And the fact that he has runs on the board of never being a dirty player, never having a technical foul, you got to rescind that no matter what, even if he clotheslines someone. But he has 0 technical fouls in 15 seasons. But that's amazing. That's very useful to me. I mean, just from a quirky stat, like to not one day just kick a ball, or considering what Tatum got a technical foul for the other day for clapping, and it wasn't even in the official's face. Sometimes, and Conley played in that era where the refs came back on steroids and cocaine that one year. Pun intended, they weren't really on, but they were just ready to go. They were looking at you like if you gave bad eye contact, they were teeing you up that one season. So for him not to have 1 is pretty impressive, bro.
Bogues, it just goes to show you being a pro, and there aren't many of them, but like just keeping your cool and just doing it every day, just being prepared, competing, respecting people, not losing your cool. That is like controlling aggressiveness, like being overly aggressive in points of adversity is a very undervalued thing in our world today. And it just goes to show you how he is and how he takes it as a professional. He's mild-mannered, and remember we talk about not being too high and not being too low. Most people use it as just a catchphrase bullshit line, but like it says a lot about it, and it says a lot about what he's about. I think it's useful for sure. What do you think?
Oh, very useful. Yeah, I think it's just the fact that not having him won by even accident is pretty impressive. So it just tells you, and he's always up there in the Teammate of the Year award. The NBA players do a Teammate of the Year award. He's always right up there. I'd love to know how many technical fouls I had in my career, pro. I think maybe you have some technology to find it. I can't find it.
231 in Mavs practices. So yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow. If anyone out there knows, I'd love to know. I'll have to look up. Maybe StatMuse will have it, but I'd love to know how many I had. All right, last one, pros. The Sacramento Kings are averaging the most points per game since the Denver Nuggets back in 1984, pro. Useful or useless?
Pretty useful, man. I didn't expect this offensive explosion. I saw my database has team stats too, and I looked at the leaders for points, and it was like, I think them and Boston were like 1-2, if I'm not mistaken. I was like, wow, what the fuck's going on here? But yeah, I think it's useful because like those Denver Nuggets in '84 was the highest up to this point.
Sacramento's the 40,
and
50
that
odd
team
years,
had
right?
like Alex English on it and those guys, and they put up a ton of points in an era where like that wasn't, it was a half court league, 90s. 86 Celtics scored a lot, the Lakers scored a lot, but like there are not a lot of teams. Denver scored a lot of points. I think it's definitely useful. Like, Sacramento's, hey, look, I'll give them all the credit in the world. I didn't expect much out of them, and they're doing some great things so far. I think it's useful for sure. I mean, it's a small sample size for no question, but
15 games.
But they're doing it. Like, I got to give them some credit, man. It's not like it's like 4 games in. They're pretty good. They're for real so far.
And for those wondering, it's 121.4 points for the Sacramento Kings this season per game. All right, Pro, what do you have?
Folks, we're going to go with a few. One's going to be tomfoolery, of course. If the Brooklyn Nets goes on a losing streak next week, Joe Tsai is going to add 3 more steps to Kyrie Irving's penance. Back to fake news.
Well, he's back. He's fake news because he's back. So he's back today, but he might have to do a few more somersaults and flips and push-ups and sit-ups and dot his I's better and cross his T's. But Joe Tsai needs to just skip in the bin with all his posturing bullshit, and we'll fake news that one, Pro.
Yeah, hey, and shout out to Jaylen Brown, for calling him out, because that's pretty cool. Like, usually, players just call out owners for anything, but I think that was definitely, look, none of us are playing God here. It should be like, you got to meet with me to be, to make sure make sure I know that you're sorry and bullshit like that. That is some bullshit. I know I'll never work in the NBA again, so I don't need many more friends for owners, but that was some fucking bullshit. And like I said, I'm not for players just calling owners out for bullshit, but that was definitely good. But we're joking around with that one, but I'll get that. That's one of the 3. Miles Bridges will play in the NBA this season. Fact or fake news?
Facts. I won't pick him up. I mean, look, I don't condone what he did. I think he should be done at least, for the year potentially, and just take a break, come back next season. But at the same time, there's also a piece of me that says, look, no matter what you've done poorly, everyone deserves a second chance. I guess the question is, when is that second chance? I think he can help a team that's on the brink of a playoff run / championship run. I mean, imagine someone like, making this up, like a Dallas or someone like that. Not that they'd pick him up, but someone that an extra scoring punch and athleticism for a team like Dallas, on top of what they already have, I think could help. Another team, Sacramento, for instance, they're not going to bring him in because they have enough there, but just provides more depth. So there's teams that he could really help take another step, I think. And you hope he comes back and this is the final indiscretion in his career, because he's a fantastic player when on the court. But there will be a team that definitely picks him up.
It gets a little messy. I'd say fact too. I think another team will pick him up this season, and I think it will be the Lakers. Now, where it gets messy is he's a restricted free agent, because of it'll be, I believe he'd be he's qualifying offer eligible, even though I don't think they've given it. They tendered it to him, but I don't know if they tendered it to him or they've or they just held back. But they've got that. It's a restricted free agent. So like, what does Michael Jordan do? So like, if the Lakers say, well, we'll give you this, we'll sign you to an offer sheet of like whatever, minimum or whatever, if they got any mid-level exception money left to taxpayers, and like, what happens there? And then do you trade? And what do you trade? Does Michael Jordan decide, all right, well, I'd rather, if somebody's going to give him money, I don't even know who's under the cap or who's left under the cap that have a lot of money to give him, probably mid-level exception money the most. Does Michael Jordan match and have to deal with that fallout with other people, saying like, oh, you're going to sign this guy and he did this. So it'll be interesting. I think there will be other teams. like especially with Cunningham being out, if Cunningham's going to be out most of the year with surgery, I don't know what that whole deal is with his shin or whatever, how long he'll be out for if he does elect to have surgery. But like the Lakers definitely need talent 1,000%. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where that goes. But I think it is fact. I think he will be picked up by the end of the year. And then the last one, both John Collins will be traded by trade deadline. Fact or fake news?
Oh, it's a hard one because they're not playing horribly. The old Atlanta Hawks, they're pretty solid. I think they're still third in the East.
Yeah, they started slow, but they're actually doing pretty well.
They're third. They're tied third with Cleveland because Cleveland's fallen off a cliff lately. But they are 10-6. They're playing okay basketball, 6-4 in their last 10. So I don't know, unless they can be made better with someone. I mean, what do they get there? What four are you? They're still going to need a four-man, right? Like it's not like they have a four-man in waiting that they're like, oh, we need to make room for this four-man, this young guy that we have because he's going to be a stud. They don't know yet, so it's like, okay, so who are you bringing in that's going to help you? I mean, Collins hasn't been great, but you got some names.
Well, it's interesting that you say Utah. I would say if Utah is going to make the deal, the first thing I'm going to go after with Utah is, look, they've got some picks and obviously they're going to lottery protect it heavily. They'll heavily protect any picks coming out. Danny, like I told you, is notorious for winning every deal that he puts out there. But like Jared Vanderbilt's not a bad player. He's a defender. He's a pretty good athlete, really good defensive guy. Shooting's gotten a little bit better but he's a good player. He puts up numbers. His contract's up. He's not the type, he doesn't have the explosive athletic ability, sometimes what Collins got on lobs and stuff, but he's a good player. But like, look, you're trying to make a run in the East and you're going to give up John Collins. But I think, that's a lot of cap money though, too. Like that's 20 plus million, I know it's 4 years or whatever it's left in the deal, but like, just let's talk about the number. Like you got to get to 20 now, but I would say Jared Vanderbilt's a guy that just sort of pops up, right away. Celtics need, some help up front, but maybe they move out to 5, but they got Robert Williams, but like I don't even know who they can give up to make.
Who they giving up? They're gonna have to give up Marcus Smart or something like that. It's gonna have to be that deal. No, they're not gonna do that.
It'll be interesting.
But like, who steps up for Atlanta? I think it's got to be a 4 in the Collins deal. It needs to bring him back another 4. I'm looking at their roster right now, and I mean they got a Kongwu who plays forward center for him. Let's say just go uber small ball and put like a DeAndre Hunter who's more of a guard forward at the 4 and just start off smaller. They don't really have another 4-man that's, Frank Kaminsky's there, Jalen Johnson, young guy hasn't really proven himself yet. So I don't know. I don't know why, if you're third in the East, maybe they're looking at it like, oh, maybe we're lucky to be in that position. Let's just make a move and they want to shed that salary. But I'm going to fake news it just based on, I think they're gonna hold it together for the most part, and they won't make a move. I think if it happens, it's gonna happen in the off season.
Yeah, I think they're really limited at what they can do. And now, an underrated move that could happen is possibly, and again, they'll have to make the money work. PJ Washington, that's so 2 names that I would say that like I'd probably want to take back for 4 men, if I'm gonna take back a starting 4, would be a PJ Washington, would be Jared Vanderbilt. PJ Washington's more offensively minded. He's a better offensive player for them. They'll probably fit them to be able to put up points. Yet Jared Vanderbilt gives them a defensive presence, although they already have Capella, so I don't think they need another defensive forward. But yeah, I think it's gonna be tough. I think it's fake news. I think you just heard a lot of that stuff. I should have added a question to see if Jay Crowder is going to be traded, because I'll tell you what, if I'm Phoenix, I'm keeping Jay. Like, I'm just going to say, look, dude, Cam Johnson's out for a long time. You want to start? We could start you. We could play you. You've been here before.
Oh, now, especially with that injury, they're in big trouble. It's like, they're going to give him the money he wants.
Fuck that. I'll play Londale at 3. The way he's been playing. Weird deal, though, Bogues. I'll be honest with you. Like, I've been watching a lot of his games lately, the last week or 6-7 days. He's played great, like really well. Dunking, rolling, playing solid D. I said it's funny. I was fucking texting him and said, "You're not a shot blocker, but you play good D." Motherfucker had like 3 blocks the next night, of course. But like, and then he doesn't play tonight at all against New York. Weird, strange. Like his.
Well, he didn't play tonight. He got a DNP tonight. So I don't know if he's
weird because the last 3 or 4 games he's really been pretty impactful for them, and then just automatically. And I thought that maybe New York went small, but they played Robinson like 17 minutes off the bench, and they played, but that guy plays so fucking tough and so hard. I know I break his balls a lot for not calling me back on the show, but he plays so fucking hard. Why wouldn't you play him? And it was just weird that he did well for a while. You think he's just getting these minutes carved out for him, and then all of a sudden he doesn't play. Just weird shit. But you know how the NBA is. Like, some days.
Yeah, look, I think he's 3. He'd be the first to tell you. I think he's 3. He's just not falling right now. What's he at? 20? He's in the 20% mark somewhere. I think he's lost a bit of confidence there, so he needs to get that back. But like you said, I mean, I watched a game a couple of nights ago. Block shot at one end, sprints the floor. I think it was Golden State. Fast break dunk. Comes back, it's another fast break dunk. Like he's just going. He goes rim to rim full. That's his. He knows and it's rare for a guy that's more known as a feet set 3-point shooter. To have that multi-skill, right, where he can run rim to rim, post you up, shoot a hook, and he can also pop for that 3. We need his 3 to get back to, hopefully work his way back up to low 30s, be a bit more consistent there. It's just not falling for him. And a lot of them are going in and out. I've watched a fair few of his games, as you have. They're good shots. They're just not falling right now. So he just needs to stay confident with it. But, yeah, you hate to see a DMP for a guy Landale. Hopefully that'll sort itself out. But he definitely deserves to be in that rotation. All right, Pro, I want to finish with this. So I had a lot of people reach out to me, and you'd be good to talk about this, as am I. I've been on both sides of this, but there's a lot of, I don't know what it's like in the US, but there's a lot of kind of trainers, development coaches, just random names that pop up. US is probably bad as it is. In Australia, it's becoming more and more now. I think a lot of parents have reached out and said, look, what do you look for in my son's 14, I want to get into individual sessions, or my daughter's 13. What do I look for? And so I decided to do a bit of kind of wrote some things down what I would look for. First of all, it's the new craze. So everyone wants a personal trainer in not just basketball, but soccer and whatever sport you're playing, tennis. It's all about getting your kids and that's great. That you definitely want to do that because your club stuff's not enough. At least in Australia, 2 club sessions a week plus your game is not enough if they want to better their skills. Hopefully they're already working on their own game is number 1, but they definitely need some tutelage. So I don't know what pricing is like in the US, Pro, but over here, generally, you're getting about $50 to $100 per hour per kid. And that's depending on group sizes. So if you've got a group of 10, you're obviously not paying, you're probably paying 50 or below. If it's more of an intimate group of 2 or 3, then you pay the 100. So for parents out there, that's probably your range, $50 to $100 per hour. Smaller the group, you probably pay closer to the 100. Larger the group, you might even get below 50. Right? I've seen some of these fucking trainers, man, they've got 40 kids. Oh no, they've got 40 kids on 4 courts and they're charging, each one $30, $40, but don't even waste your time. Like, you're not going to get any instruction one-on-one when there's 20, 30, 40 kids there, right? Unless there's 20 coaches, but then every coach is going to have a different message for you for the most part. If you're looking for a personal trainer, you want someone that's in an intimate setting. My three red flags, first off, for parents. If you're looking for a personal trainer for your child, number 1, if they promise anything, huge red flag. So what I mean by this is train with me and your son will make the NBA. Train with me and your son will make the NBL. If you hear that, red flag. I don't want to hear that from a trainer. Or you want to hear, I'll make your son or daughter work. I'll get them better. I'm going to get their deficiencies better and I'm going to continue to hone the current skills they have. You never promise that you're going to get someone to somewhere, because a lot of it relies on the kid. A lot of it relies on their club and the time and their love for the game. A trainer's not going to you could get the best trainer in the world, Andrew Bogut, Mike Procopio, whoever, one of the best Instagram trainers. If your child doesn't want to work, they're not going to get there. So don't ever believe if someone says, I'm going to get your kid there, they're going to make it. That's number 1. Number 2, are they recording your workout whilst working you out to post it on social media? Now, look, I'm okay with a one-off, a photo, or if someone else is recording a little clip, kind of ballpark to me, but I get it. But if they're actually recording you while you're doing drills, red flag. you are the product at that point. Your child is the product. So they're using you to leverage their brand, which I think is not right. I think as a parent, you're paying big money per hour to have someone train your child. The best you need from them is, I don't want any distractions. I don't want you holding a phone. I don't want this. I don't, train my child and get them better. So that's the second red flag, if you see any of that. Number 3 is they name drop about contacts they have all around the world. That's number 3. Big red flag. I've got this person here in college. You can look, if you train with me for 2 years, I can get you here for the NBL. I know this person. I know that person. Good people generally in life and good trainers, they don't do that. They're comfortable. They have it in their pocket, but they're not going to tell you they have it in their pocket until a time of need, and they might help you. So they're my kind of real big 3 red flags. Of those 3 kind of tell you the feel of what someone is. But it's hard for parents because parents get swindled. Parents get, emotional when it comes to their kids. I've seen it so many times. That's not the parent's fault. It might be a coach that comes from America and it's like, there was always a stigma pro in the 80s and 90s and at least the 2000s in Australia that anyone with an American accent, you were like, oh my God, it's an American coach. They're God, right? And sure, there were some coaches that came out here that were fantastic, but then there were a lot of people that used that and we're charging parents crazy money to get their kids nowhere, promising them the world, and they just disappear with the money, right? So the biggest thing I think for kids, for parents to look for with an individual coach is, number 1, identify weaknesses of your son or daughter. So, okay, their left hand's really bad. We need to address that. Okay, footwork is bad, traveling a lot. Follow through is not there every time. The guide hand, blah, blah, blah. All these things, identify weaknesses and address them, along with continuing to develop skills they already have and getting them from maybe a B+ to an A+. They're the most important thing. So a one-size-fits-all generic sessions don't bother with those parents, in my opinion. If you're investing this kind of money, you should be you can go up to about 10 max, in my opinion, but you still want to have individual sessions within those 10. So if you've got 10 kids in a 2-hour session or an hour and a half session, I don't want them all doing the same thing, because you might have one person doing something that they're already good at and another person's not. And then that kid that's already good at that is kind of like, well, I can already do this really well. I want to learn more, get me better, and vice versa. So the one-size-fits-all generic sessions are also something to look out for, Pro. I don't know if you have much more to add, but it's rampant here, Pro. It's getting bigger and bigger. And there's big money involved in it, because generally some of these coaches, they don't need their own facility. They just go and rent a court they pay the facility, $20, $30, $50 an hour. They already have a relationship with them. They get 5 to 10 kids that are paying them $50 to $100 an hour. Do the math. They do 2 of those sessions a day, even 1 a day, 5 days a week. They're making a good living. You just want to make sure that your kids are getting what they pay for. So, first of all, if I'm a parent, what else you got on that front, Pro?
9 times out of 10, you have no idea what you're doing. Like you're just a parent, right? Just like most parents, they see it, they watch it, but they don't really know. First of all, I would never have a trainer work with my son or daughter that hasn't coached before. So, like, if they haven't coached high school, they haven't coached club ball, they haven't spent any time as a real coach, I'm not doing it. Now, if my son or daughter is not very experienced in basketball and I want somebody who's just going to, young, work hard, like play the game before, that's great. But if I'm really a parent that's going to invest money into this thing, I'm not working with a trainer that has not coached before. That's the first thing. Second thing, if they do carry a camera by themselves and they're filming you while they're working out, huge red flag. Like, because they need to be studying you, not just putting stuff on. Like, the social media thing, I'm not a huge fan of. But, like, if they have, 4 or 5 cameramen filming the workouts, whatever, that's another thing. But the coach, the actual trainer that, just films the player working out to put on social media right there, red flag to me. If they don't talk to your son or daughter during the workout, and they're not correcting, they're not stopping a drill at all, and they're just continuously going, your son or daughter is not going to get better. You pay a trainer to not only assess your game, put your son or daughter through a workout sessions that's going to get, close the gap on their skill set, and also close the gap on their weaknesses and improve things and get better at some things. But you need to correct. That's what coaches do. They actually correct and talk. A lot of these trainers just move to the next drill. Huge red flag would be if they just continuously do different things every session. You're never ever, I've been doing this for 30 years. And the reason why I'm so good is because I could take a player and do basically almost the same thing every day to work on those 2 or 3 weaknesses that they really need to work on top of the stuff that they already do well, but really key in on 2 or 3 weaknesses and, rep it out, correct it, and just keep on repping it and repping it and repping it. That's the only way they're going to get good. Trainers, which they're like crack dealers, for God's sakes, they just sell dreams that you're never going to attain. They just keep doing the drill of the year. The move of the year. You'll do it in a workout, and then the next day it'll be a different move of the year. Like, wait a minute, I thought we were doing the move of the year yesterday. No, we're doing a new one today, and then the next day is a new one, and the next day. How do you expect to get good at something? Like, Kobe would do things thousands of times. Like, I always tell the story about, breaking down film for him the last time I worked out with him and him doing like an in and out crossover step back like 11 or 12 times in like a 3 or 4 game period. So like I was watching film of it in the plane. I'm like, all right, I don't like this shit, but like during the last part of our workout, we'll do it. I said, all right, KB, let's do last 5 minutes work on the in and out crossover step back. He goes, Mike, I never do that. I never work on that. I go, KB, you did it like 11 times in like 3 games. He goes, yeah, I get it. But what happens is I work on the in and out layup, in and out jump shot, crossover layup, crossover jump shot, step back, jumper, step back, pull in front layup. I master all 3 of those moves. The game's reactionary. So if I don't master each one of those things and read the defense of how they react, because if I in and out somebody and they don't bite on it, I'm just going to go to the rim. They bite on it. That's why I cross over. They get to my hip. That's why I step back and I shoot the jump shot. It's all reactionary, but I have to work on each step thousands of times before I'm very good at it. So with your son and daughter, like whatever they're working on, if they need their corner 3, they need to work on their left hand, they need to work on their ball handling, whatever it is, they need to be repping that out daily on almost every session. And that's a big thing for me. Those are some of the big things for me. And look, you get what you pay for. If you're gonna walk into a session with 50 kids in it, just expect this. Expect, okay, maybe my son or daughter will play a lot. They'll get some reps in, but they're not going to get a lot of instruction. So, I'm not going to pay that much for it. Like if I have anything over 10 kids in a session, I'm not paying more than $30 for it. If I have a session of like less than 10, like I think 6, like I usually charge $85 a kid for 6. 6 kids, $85 per kid. Because of the fact that you get a lot of reps in, I could teach, I could stop and correct. Also, I could teach, stop and correct, and I could play 3-on-3 live, 2-on-2 live, and then they can get a lot of good things out of it. So I'm gonna charge more. But since like that's the expectation, if you're expecting your son or daughter to get really good teaching with 50 kids in the gym, then you're crazy. But if there's like 4 to 6 kids in the gym and I'm paying a premium, then I better expect that coach to be stopping, correcting, talking, and teaching. This game's at an all-time low. It's way overcoached, way undertaught. There's no teachers anymore. It's like breakdancing. It's like breakdancing in the 80s. You just work on breakdancing moves, and then you work on another breakdancing move the next day, and another breakdancing move the other day. And there's no teaching involved. You're just emulating and copying moves, but there's no actual teaching involved. And I think that that's a big thing. And that's why, it's a shame. It's the game's going to shit, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, it's with everything, with every industry where there's money to be made, you're going to have people that grift and, that, like Pro said, shouldn't even be coaching, period, because they've never coached before and they kind of work their way, weasel their way into things. And that's every walk of life, not just basketball. But the other thing I'd look for is, the first couple of weeks of anything, there's a honeymoon period where everything's great, everything's rosy. It would be, I've seen a lot of these trainers, they have the energy the first couple of weeks and it's a brand new business or it's a brand new group. And then by week 3, week 4, they're showing up, making this up. It's a 10 a.m. session. They're showing up at 9:59. All right, guys, just get your stretch in. You want to make sure that they have to be more motivated than your child. if they're rolling out of their car after a little nap, or you can clearly see they don't want to be there, or they're tired, that's immediately something as a parent you address. I'm paying you a premium. I need your energy like it was the first week. And I see that so much, man. I see that so much. And then parents, of course, they see a little bit of an improvement. So they stay with that coach or that person. But then the next jump of the improvement doesn't come, because it's just the same old. And to Pro's point about mastering the simple stuff, I see that all the time too. I see kids trying to do 15 crossover moves before they get to the basket, or let's do this, because these people that are training them, and this isn't all trainers. There's a lot of good people out there that do it for the right reasons and don't even charge money for the most part. But there's a lot of people that don't. And when you're going into the individual realm, you have to pay a premium. That's just the way life works. I just see a lot of kids just get stuck in that whole. A lot of kids trainers get stuck in the. I'm going to go on Instagram and look at who's Steph Curry's trainer, and I'm going to copy those drills. You're like, well, you haven't seen what Steph did from 9, 10, 11, 12 to Davidson College for a couple of years, to the NBA, to get to that point at 33, 34. You can't then have a 14-year-old do what Steph's doing, because you think that's going to turn him to Steph Curry. And that's what I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing kids practicing shit that they're never going to do in a game, shit that is just they haven't mastered. I did some stuff yesterday locally here with some kids, and this is a knock on anyone, and I've done a bunch of camps. It's simple stuff like, my biggest thing with a lot of young kids is just teaching a basic closeout, right? Like get your stick arm up early, close out no middle. Why do we force to the baseline? Kids don't know the answer to that. And I'm not blaming the kids. It's just things that have got lost in translation over time, because we want to jump to, I want to do a step back, or I want to block someone's shot off the glass or throw it into the crowd. It's like, well, you got to master a proper closeout first. And then on the flip side, if you're on offense and someone's trying to stop you from going middle, then you learn offense. Okay, now what do I do here? How do I kind of fool him into baiting him, like I can open up the middle a little bit, and just teaching small things like that. So I think probably it's not really a red flag, but the more flashy a trainer is with all these kind of different moves and apparatus is the other thing, Pro, like 50 different things. Like I got this cone for this, and I've got this touchpad, and I've got this. Look, for pros, different story. Like someone like Steph, he needs to be stimulated with things that he hasn't done before, as to keep motivated for workouts. So they've got him doing all kinds of stuff, and that's how they get better, right? Because basic ball handling drill for them, and don't get me wrong, for their warm up drill, they'll still be doing the basic stuff. But in the meat of their workout, they'll be doing some stuff that's really kind of wacky and out there at times. But they've mastered simple, like Pro said. For your kids to be doing that and jump into that extent, you're just going to get lost in translation. So I just want to have a discussion on it, Pro, because I've had more than a few people in person ask me, and some people have emailed through and on social media saying, like, man, like I'm lost. What do I do? I've got personal trainers coming up to me saying I can train your son or your daughter. I can help them. What do I look for? These are some of the qualities you got to look for. And I think we'll do a few more things like this over the course of the year, but it's hard. And like Pro said, if you're not in the game, it's like me being a parent. If I went now into, my son wanted to ride dirt bikes, and I went to a local MX course, and I'm like, I'd have no idea what's what. Like if some guy came up to me and said, hey, I can get your son riding that bike better, I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. How much do you want? Here it is. Like I have no idea. And that's Pro's point. Like parents, they're parenting and they want the best for their kids. So a lot of times as a parent, you can get blinded by some of these people that are charging you, $100 an hour and there's no improvement, or they lie, or then 3 or 4 years later, they don't have the contacts they said they did, and then things go astray, and then they disappear and they move to another city or another state and they start all over again. I've seen that numerous times as well. So it's interesting. It's an interesting industry, Pro. It's definitely it's up there with the Instagram models,
there's
quote
people
unquote.
making 7 figures, a lot of 6-figure people, and they just work on nonsense. And what happens is they work on stuff that these kids are never going to do in a game. Their coach is going to get pissed and they're going to get on the bench. And then by the time they spend 5 figures on this over a course of a 4-year period, 5-year period with their sons or daughters, they might pay 30 grand to these people over a course of time. And then when their careers toast because they've been working on the wrong thing for years, then these people are going to go to the next town. It's like, it's like these Western movies. You have these people like these snake oil salesmen that are going to sell this elixir. It's going to make you feel great. great. Well, they'll sell it to the people until like 3 or 4 days, and then they'll figure out that things bullshit. They'll just move to the next town. And that's what these people do. They move to the next town, and it's bullshit. And that's the problem. But people just don't understand. Look, it's very simple. Like, whoever's in charge of your son or daughter's minutes, they're the warden of the jail. You got to figure out what they want your son or daughter to be able to do to get on the floor to a maximum amount of time. You work on those things, you figure it out, and then that's it. And then you watch film of your son or daughter. What are the shots that they taken during the year, during the season for their team? And then see, well, this guy had me dribbling 46 times before I shot. Well, did little Johnny or Sally do that during the season ever? Like, why would I be working on that? Like, and that's the problem. You work 98% of the time on things you'll do 2% of the time. You'll never get better. How the fuck does that make any sense? So you just got to figure out what you need to work on to get you to, like, at least try to do what you're trying to do. Like what are my goals and how am I going to get there? And then have a plan of how we're going to get there, the things that I need to get better at, to really get better and to improve and get on the court. But these charlatans and these fucking thieves just keep on like, and again, who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the person who said, we're going to grind out, 2 or 3 weaknesses, or you're going to listen to the person who says your coach has no idea what they're fucking doing. You're Steph Curry. And you should be playing like Steph Curry. You shouldn't be playing like, Dorian Finney-Smith or Herter or something like that. You need to be playing like Steph, James Harden, and things, and people like that, or LeBron. And, of course you're going to listen to that person because you're going to think, well, they've got all these followers on Instagram. They work with all these players. And that's another thing. Give them like, I'd go to that trainer and say, well, I want a client list of 5 people that I can call and I can talk to them about what, especially at my son or daughter's position and what makes you so good. And I want to figure out if you're the right person. Like, I would really try to do my homework the best I can. But, look, there's a lot of good people in this too, but there's a lot of thieves doing it for the wrong reasons. And again, by the time you figure it out, they're going to already have your money, going to the next kid, the next family. So that's sort of my thought on it.
Yeah, interesting. So be vigilant. There's a lot of questions you can ask. I think references is spot on. What kids have you trained? Have you trained any pros or semi-pros that are playing NBL, NBL1 or NBA or G League or college? Have you sent kids to college? How long have you been doing this? Where have you coached? And definitely some references, I think, just calling people, whether it be other parents of kids that they have coached or even just other kids that have now, if a guy's been doing it, a guy or girl's been doing it for 10, 15 years, they'll have kids now that have morphed into adults, which should give you a bit of truth. When they're 19, 20, 21, whatever, they can say, yeah, he was good. Yeah, she was bad, whatever. And I think, just be smart about it. Ask a lot of questions. A lot of times, there is a lot of good and bad in every industry, and you see some people make a living out of this because it's a pretty lucrative business if you can do it right.
Sure.
But you can also do it pretty wrong and still make good money because don't forget, a lot of these trainers don't have a facility to pay for. They don't have half of them aren't paying. This is the other thing. Make sure they have insurance, parents. Make sure they have some sort of insurance because if they train your son or daughter and they do something, they're training him, they had a little injury and they push them too hard and they get stress fractures or break their leg or, you want to make sure that they've got insurance to cover that. Not only that, if something happens in the gym between players or whatever, I've seen a lot without insurance and then they just disappear when shit hits the fan. But yeah, it's more just about making sure you got someone trustworthy and you're not just getting someone because they told you they could get your son or daughter to the next step. Make sure that they actually live by that. So, and it's paying attention as a parent, as hard as it can be. Go to some of this. You don't have to go to every session. I think once you're comfortable enough, but that takes weeks, if not months. Don't just go to these sessions and sit on your phone. Actually watch and see how they're interacting with your child and that they're motivated because you're paying your hard-earned money to have your child get better. So just a matter of keeping an eye on it. But thanks for that, Pro. I think it'd be very useful for a lot of our followers I know a lot of them have young kids that are coming through the junior ranks and some of them have really, really good kids that could potentially be elite. Their heads are spinning with the next step. So hopefully this helps. And if you have any more gripes or questions around trainers or want things answered, just either tweet us or chuck a comment on one of our posts on the Rogue Bogues pages and we'll try to endeavour to get back to the interesting stuff, Pro. Thank you. Another week in the books. We'll see how we go this week in the NBA with all the injuries and chat next week.
Folks, we'll see you guys next week.
By Andrew Bogut.
Let's get grove.